Welcome to Speed Reels. Today, we'll be covering a 2014 action/sci-fi movie called Lucy. At the start of the movie, we see a pond where a gorilla was drinking water. Then we hear a voice saying, "We got life some 7,000 years ago. What have we made of it?" Now the scene shifts, and we see the present generation, which is busy in the hustle and bustle of their daily lives. Lucy was one of them. She was standing outside a hotel with her boyfriend. Lucy met her boyfriend a few days ago, and she doesn't know. What does he do? The boy gives her a suitcase and tells her to take it to the hotel, give it to a man there, for which you will get $1,000 in return. Lucy gets surprised listening to that. She thought, how could someone give such a big amount for such a small task? There must be something wrong with it, therefore she refuses to do it, and she plans to leave the place. But her boyfriend ties her hands to the suitcase via a handcuff. Lucy gets very angry seeing all that and asks him to open it. Her boyfriend says, the handcuffs would only open if you go inside. The keys of the handcuffs are with a person inside the hotel. You have to deliver this suitcase to him. Well, Lucy had no other option but to go to the hotel. As she went in, she inquired about Mr. Zhang at the reception. The man at the reception makes a call to Mr. Zhang. After a while, a few men came downstairs, and they were wearing suits. As soon as they come, they shoot Lucy's boyfriend. Lucy was shocked seeing all that, and she gets very scared and starts crying. Then those men take her to their boss. The boss had come there after killing someone. He tells Lucy a code and asks her to open the suitcase. All the men standing there became very quiet as Lucy was about to open the suitcase. She gets scared and asks if there is a bomb in it. The boss replies with a no. Lucy opens the suitcase hesitantly, and we see 4 blue-colored packets in it. The packets had drugs packed in them. It was a very rare drug. The boss, Mr. Zhang, then plans to test the powder. He brought in a person there and asked him to consume the powder. As soon as he takes that, he becomes completely mad. He starts to do weird things. Seeing this, the boss shoots him dead. Lucy could not believe all that was happening. She asks him to let her go, again and again. But the boss offers her to work for him. Lucy replies, "I am a student, please let me go, I don't want to do this." Meanwhile, a man punches her hard, and she becomes unconscious. After some time Lucy comes to her consciousness. She finds herself in a hotel room, and she is not in very good condition. She had a cut on her back and she feels as if they have taken an organ out of her body. After a while, a man comes to her and tells her, "We haven't taken any organ out of your body, we just hid a small packet in it." Lucy asks what is inside the packet? "It is CPH4, a drug, and you have to take this drug wherever we instruct you to," he replies. Besides Lucy, there were 3 other people out there. A similar packet was inserted in their bellies. Now the boss, Mr. Zhang, tells them, "We will kill your families if any of you tries to be over smart or tries running away." Then he puts the black cloth on their faces and takes them to separate places. When the cloth was removed from her face, Lucy finds herself chained at a place. She notices 2 men standing in front of her. One of them starts misbehaving with her. Lucy tells him to stay away, for which he gets angry and beats her badly. Because of this, the packet in her belly bursts, and it starts diffusing into her whole body like the speed of a bullet. Her eyes turned blue, and she even started flying in the air. She was getting fully mad. Now we can understand how powerful the drug is. Well, we see on the screen, 20%, which means that Lucy has started to use 20% of her brain now. The scene shifts, and we see another character, Professor Samuel, who was delivering a lecture to a seminar about the brain. He told the audience that Albert Einstein is the only individual who has used 13% of his brain since the beginning of the world. An average person uses 4 to 10% of one's brain. Using that 4% only, man has done wonders, going on the moon, landing on Mars, making airplanes, and all other things. If a person uses 20% of one's brain, one can control his body, heartbeat, and the circulation of blood. But there is an animal that has used 20% of its brain. It is a dolphin. Dolphins use 20% of their brain to communicate with other dolphins through telepathy. In the end, a person asks the professor, "What if a person uses 100% of his brain?" "I don't have an answer to it, but if someone does it, the person would be unstoppable," the professor replied. Now we see Lucy, who was sitting very quietly. A person comes there to take her, but Lucy has changed completely. She calls the person near, pulls his belt, and throws him far away. She also takes his gun. Now we can sense that she is a different Lucy. She has become entirely confident, And all this was because of using 20% of her brain. Then she went outside and killed the 4 people sitting there. She eats a lot of food as she needs more energy. She had a bullet stuck into her shoulder area. She removes that with her hand as Lucy's brain was superactive due to such high usage, and she feels no more pain. She went straight to the hospital as she wanted to get the packet out of her. Also, she wanted to know what was happening to her. As she was using 20% of her brain, she has learned every language in the world. Then she went straight to an operating theater, where doctors were treating a patient. Suddenly, Lucy shoots the patient and lays on the bed. She tells the doctors, "You could not have saved him." Now Lucy orders the doctors to extract the packet out of her body. The doctor tells her, "However, we have taken out the packet from your body, but 1/2 of the packet has gone inside the body." Lucy asks the doctors how much time will take to recover completely. The doctor asks her what was inside the packet. Lucy tells them it was a CPH4 drug. Doctors get shocked after listening to that. They tell Lucy that, "We were aware of the fact that some people were making its synthetic version, but we didn't know that they had made it." After listening to that, Lucy asks, "Exactly what it is?" Doctors explain, "When a lady gets pregnant, her body makes CPH4 in very small quantities. It helps to build bones and develop the brain of the child inside her. It gives an infant a boost that helps to shape up the body. But half of the packet got dissolved in your body. Therefore, we don't know what will happen to you. We don't even believe how you are still alive after consuming so much of this drug." Then Lucy's brain starts working very efficiently. She calls her mom and tells her things even her mom didn't remember. She tells her, "Mom, I remember when I was born, and I remember when I kicked you in your tummy when I was inside you. I can feel everything. I can feel gravity and the heat my body is releasing. I can feel the rotation of the earth and the blood flowing in my veins. What is happening to me, Mom?" Her mom gets astonished listening to her. She doesn't know either what was happening to Lucy. Now here, Lucy has only used 20 to 30% of her brain up till now. What would happen if she used 100% of her brain? Now Lucy comes out of the hospital, and she even starts seeing all the neurocells of the trees. She can see how trees extract water out of the ground and get nutrition. Her eyes were working like a microscope. Then she went to the same hotel shown at the start of the movie. She kills all the men there. She enters the room of the boss, who was enjoying a massage. She puts the dagger into both his hands and asks him about the remaining packets. "Where did you send them?" The boss didn't tell her anything as he was immensely in pain. Here, Lucy uses her powers again. She touches his brain, and she is able to see all his memories. She had enough power to see where they sent all the packets. She comes to know that one packet was sent to Berlin, the second one was sent to Paris, and the third one to Rome. As she knew everything, she thanked him and left. The boss was shocked, and he could not figure out what had happened to her. Here, Lucy went to her friend's house, and she diagnosed all the diseases that her friend was having by simply touching her. Then she starts reading about Professor Samuel on her computer. Then Lucy calls Professor Samuel. She tells him that she wants to meet him as she had studied all his research. The professor starts laughing after listening to that as even he doesn't remember how many pages of research he has written till now. Then Lucy tells him that you have written 6,000 pages of research. He was astonished. Then Lucy comes in front of him on TV. She could control all electromagnetic things. The professor gets completely shocked after knowing that. He could not believe how all that was taking place. Lucy tells him about all things. She could even operate all phones in the world by sitting at her place. She controls everything the professor owns, his phone, watches, etc. She tells him that a drug was injected into her, due to which she can use 20% of her brain. She explains that she did not know what was happening to her. She doesn't feel pain, and she was devoid of any desire. Her brain has knowledge about quantum physics and cell nuclei. Everything was exploding in her brain. She doesn't know what to do about it. After listening to that, the professor asks her to let everyone know about her powers so that we could build a better future. Then Lucy went abroad and told the police about people who were smuggling that drug abroad. The officer who picked up Lucy's phone didn't believe her at first. When Lucy sent him the picture of all 3 men, he believed her. After that, the police caught all 3 of them one by one, and after informing the police about them, she went on to take a flight. Here, we see another interesting thing. Lucy can change the color of her hair as she is walking. After boarding the flight, as soon as she takes the champagne in a glass and sips it, all cells in her body start deteriorating. We can feel that her body is rotting up. Then she went to the washroom quickly, but her condition was about to get worse. Her body was about to get completely destroyed. And she had to consume the remaining portion of the drug. She consumes all of that and gets unconscious. As she comes to her senses, she finds herself in the hospital. Her brain was working at 50% now. The policeman was waiting for her, as he thought Lucy was a criminal. As Lucy comes out of the hospital, all policemen surround her pointing guns at her. But Lucy made all of them unconscious without even touching them. The officer gets shocked seeing all that. Then Lucy asks him about the remaining packets and orders him to take her there. On the other hand, we see that the remaining police officials took those 3 persons to the hospital to extract the packets out of their bodies. But till then, gang members of Mr. Jang came there so that they could take those packets back and smuggle them to other nations. Now Lucy knows about that also as she listened to the call of that person. She had a very efficient way to listen to the call, then she takes the car of the policeman and rushes towards the hospital. After seeing her driving, the policeman asks her, "Do you always drive like this?" Lucy tells him that she was driving for the first time. She was driving like a knife through the butter. Well, she reaches the hospital, and we witness the real powers of Lucy as her brain was operating at 60%. She made all gang members fly in the air without even touching them, and their bullets were not doing anything to her. She could control the minds of people in front of her, and they couldn't do anything about that. She beats them all, takes all 3 packets with her, and goes to meet the professor. The professor and his team were already waiting. They had a few doctors with them. Lucy shares a lot of knowledge with them. One of the doctors didn't believe her and asked her to prove her abilities. Then Lucy places a hand on his shoulder and lets him know about the death of his daughter. No one except to know about that, and after seeing that all the doctors were astonished. She imparted the knowledge about math and science. She tells them, whatever mathematical equations you know or teach are not true. If you want to know about something in this world, only time can tell you that. We have been taught that 1 + 1 is 2. This is wrong. Actually, numbers and words don't exist, we have invented them for our existence and convenience. The professor asks her, if a man is not a mathematical unit and the world is not run by mathematics, then who runs it? Then Lucy gives them an example. Let's suppose we keep on increasing the speed of the car that is being driven on the road. A point will come when the car disappears, therefore time is everything. Now Lucy converted herself into various mutants while sitting there. Now she has control over her body cells. After listening to that, all the people sitting there get shocked. Lucy said that she needed to increase her knowledge, therefore, she will consume all 3 packets. On the other side, when Mr. Jang comes to know about the drug, he, along with his men, enters the research center where Lucy was present. He starts killing everyone. After seeing him, the officer asks Lucy to hurry up as they could not hold them for too long. Then Lucy says, "It's time to go," and we see that she consumes all 3 packets. She tells the professor that she will put all her knowledge into a pen drive. And you could educate the coming generation about our capabilities. Slowly the powder started working, and a black material came out of her body that searched for energy and metal. She uses that to store all information. A time comes when she uses the entire 100% of her brain. Then she develops powers to travel in time. Now she went 1,000 years back in time and meets tribal people. Then she went a little more back in time and saw dinosaurs. Then she went back in time and met the first human on the earth who was a gorilla. But her journey didn't end there. She made her way back in time as she wanted to know how life started on the earth. Then she came to know that we had come from outside. A few cells from outer space landed on Earth, and life started. Then Lucy had become so powerful that she could see past, future, and the present at one time. Then we see that Mr. Jang had come to Lucy after killing everyone. As he pulls the trigger to shoot Lucy, we see that Lucy disappears. It implies that Lucy has one more power, that is to become invisible. Then a policeman comes there and kills Mr. Jang. After that, Lucy makes a pen drive and gives it to the professor, who had everything in it. After that, she disappeared, and no one could trace her. The officer could not figure out what had been happening, therefore he asked the professor, "Where is Lucy?" Then he receives Lucy's message on his phone stating, "I am everywhere." Then we hear the same line that we heard at the start of the movie, "We got life 1,000 years ago. What have we made of it?" This depends on you guys, how you utilize the gift of life, how you utilize your precious time. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you can watch more videos like this. Thanks for watching, we will see you in the next one.